Hello and welcome back to Rödl and Partner presents the Lighthouse-Talks with our India experts. We all keep hearing that the government is committed to reduce litigation, bring tax transparency, and certainly to create an investor-friendly environment and boost the support to Make in India. However, every now and then, we keep reading the headlines in newspapers for multiple billions of rupees worth of tax notices being sent to taxpayers. For example, INR 324 billion to Infosys or INR 210 billion to online gaming companies. Our today's expert in this area of indirect taxation, Mr. Atish Laddha, is an associate partner in the indirect tax team at Rödl and Partner. He is a qualified chartered accountant with more than 13 years of post-qualification experience in providing consulting, litigation and compliance services to MNCs in customs, GST and policy-related matters. Welcome, Atish.
Thank you, Anushrii, for the nice introduction, and it's my pleasure to be on board today.
So, Atish, today's topic is really interesting, tax litigation in India. Let me start by asking a very basic question. What are the tax disputes in India and how are they initiated?
It's an interesting question which you have asked, and let me throw some light on it. The tax disputes are majorly triggered when there are disagreements between a taxpayer and the tax authorities, where the latter has a reason to believe that the tax either not being paid or been short paid or has not been paid in appropriate manner or the time as may be prescribed within the tax regulations. There are multiple stages of litigations in India, and I would like to take a liberty here of saying, आप chronology समझिए. Jokes apart, you may broadly divide the tax litigation into following stages. First, the assessment or the audits. This is the first stage of litigation process wherein the tax authorities scrutinize the returns of the taxpayer and identify the discrepancies or areas of concern wherein they can issue notices periodically to seek more information or clarification from the taxpayer. Second, the investigations, wherein upon receiving the taxpayer's response, the department may conduct further investigation in the form of search or surveys wherein additional information may be sought. Thirdly, show cause notice or the demand orders, which are the formal channel of litigation. If the department concludes that the additional tax liability is owed by the taxpayer, they can issue a notice which is generally followed by a demand order quantifying the amount which is due. And last, the appeals, wherein the taxpayer has right to challenge the adjudication proceedings before the appellate courts, including appellate tribunal, high courts, or ultimately to the Supreme Court of India.
So, Atish, you were talking about audits, right? Now, there are so many types of audits when it comes to taxpayers in India. Is this audit different from the statutory audit being carried out by professionals such as chartered accountants? And also, if you could tell our audience what goes on during the searches and investigations?
Yes, certainly the audits conducted by the external professionals are indeed different from the audits conducted by the tax authorities. The tax authorities may initiate the audit based on various parameters, including scrutiny of returns. In case if there is any discrepancy identified, the revenues gap might be bridged by way of issuance of notice for demanding the differential tax. Moving forward to the investigation, which is the most difficult part within the proceedings. Within the tax department, generally a separate cell is created to conduct the investigation based on information received via the vigilance. During these proceedings, the top officials of the taxpayers are directed to be present in the proceedings and submit the information and documents as may be directed by the authorities. And during the proceedings, the statement may also be recorded under oath.
So, if these searches and investigations are a very difficult part as compared to the other, can you please elaborate this to our viewers?
Yes, indeed it is a pertinent question. Facing the investigation proceedings with the tax laws of India, including customs or the goods and service tax regime, is particularly intimidating for the taxpayers, especially the top officials of the company. These proceedings are conducted under the Civil Procedure Code of India, wherein the summons are issued to directing the top officials to be present before the authorities. It is crucial for the individuals appearing before the proceedings to be well informed about their rights and obligation during such proceedings. Just to cite one example, if a woman is present during the proceedings, any personal search should only be conducted by a female officer with strict regard to the decency. Further, in case of a medical emergency, an individual has a right to seek a medical assistance. In many instances, individuals who are attending these proceedings are not appropriately prepared or informed about their rights and obligations. This lack of preparedness can result into undue pressure or unfavorable outcome in the proceedings. Therefore, strategic planning is a pivotal key to navigate through the investigation proceedings by the taxpayer.
So what do you mean by the strategic planning in this context of proceedings?
The strategic planning in the context of the proceedings could be to ensure a timely and effectively closure of tax litigation, and it may include 1. Assessment of tax positions, 2. Evaluating the possibility of defending the tax demand on merits as well as limitation, 3. Analyzing the impact of the dispute on the overall business of the company, 4. Identifying the approach of handling the tax authorities, 5. Understanding the cost-benefit analysis, and lastly, understanding the alternative mechanisms by virtue of which the time and resources can be optimized. By meticulously following the above steps, the business can minimize the risk of tax, can optimize the cost, and eventually achieve the goal of the business.
Great. So now that we have an idea on how to strategize to navigate the tax disputes when they occur, but as they say, prevention is better than cure, right? So can you please tell our audience how to avoid such tax disputes?
Indeed, Anushrii, prevention is always better than a cure. Yes. Therefore, businesses should follow some of the following steps to minimize the risk of tax. To start with, comprehensive transaction review before concluding any tax positions, accurate and timely disclosure in the tax returns and compliance with the tax regulatory requirements, maintaining robust documentation to defend the tax positions, health checks by third-party professionals for an unbiased review, seek an advance ruling in case of doubts for a tax position, staying informed about latest tax updates for your business, and lastly, seeking an advice from an expert in case of complex business transactions.
This has been incredibly insightful. Atish, any final advice for our viewers?
Businesses must see tax compliance as an ongoing process and not as a one-time activity. Engage with experts, stay informed, and always have a litigation strategy in place. It would be my pleasure to guide our viewers in this regard.
Atish's contact details are given in the bio of this video. Atish, thank you so much for your valuable insights.
Thank you.
Tax disputes can be complex, but with the right approach, they can be managed efficiently. Stay compliant, stay informed, and see you in the next episode of Rödl & Partner presents The Lighthouse Talks with our India experts.